The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. You are what you do, not what you say you'll do. Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people. The pendulum of the mind oscillates between sense and nonsense, not between right and wrong. Every form of addiction is bad, no matter whether the narcotic be alcohol, morphine, or idealism. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. There's no coming to consciousness without pain. No tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Show me a sane man and I will cure him for you. In all chaos there is a cosmos, in all disorder a secret order. Mistakes are, after all, the foundations of truth, and if a man does not know what a thing is, it is at least an increase in knowledge if he knows what it is not. As far as we can discern, the sole purpose of human existence is to kindle a light of meaning in the darkness of mere being. Whatever is rejected from the self appears in the world as an event. We cannot change anything unless we accept it. Where wisdom reigns, there is no conflict between thinking and feeling. The greatest tragedy of the family is the unlived lives of the parents. Where love rules, there is no will to power, and where power predominates, love is lacking. The one is the shadow of the other. Shame is a soul-eating emotion. Through pride we are ever deceiving ourselves. But deep down below the surface of the average conscience a still, small voice says to us, something is out of tune. The creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by the play instinct acting from inner necessity. The creative mind plays with the objects it loves. The best political, social, and spiritual work we can do is to withdraw the projection of our shadow onto others. The first half of life is devoted to forming a healthy ego. The second half is going inward and letting go of it. The reason for evil in the world is that people are not able to tell their stories. Wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a portion of one's being, but by integration of the contraries. If there is anything that we wish to change in the child, we should first examine it and see whether it is not something that could better be changed in ourselves. Every human life contains a potential. If that potential is not fulfilled, then that life was wasted. I must also have a dark side if I am to be whole. We meet ourselves time and again in 1,000 disguises on the path of life. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes. There can be no transforming of darkness into light and of apathy into movement without emotion. The healthy man does not torture others. Generally, it is the tortured who turn into torturers. If the path before you is clear, you're probably on someone else's. Find out what a person fears most, and that is where you will develop next. Words are animals, alive with a will of their own. When an inner situation is not made conscious, it appears outside as fate. The bigger the crowd, the more negligible the individual becomes. Midlife is the time to let go of an over-dominant ego and to contemplate the deeper significance of human existence. Without this playing with fantasy, no creative work has ever yet come to birth. The debt we owe to the play of the imagination is incalculable. The true leader is always led. My whole being was seeking for something still unknown which might confer meaning upon the banality of life. Nobody, as long as he moves among the chaotic currents of life, is without trouble. It all depends on how we look at things, and not how they are in themselves. Life really does begin at 40. Up until then, you are just doing research. People don't have ideas. Ideas have people. We are born at a given moment, in a given place, and like vintage years of wine, we have the qualities of the year and of the season in which we are born. The fool is the precursor to the savior. The majority of my patients consisted not of believers but of those who had lost their faith. I don't aspire to be a good man. I aspire to be a whole man. Faith, hope, love, and insight are the highest achievements of human effort. They are found given by experience. The sole purpose of human existence is to kindle a light in the darkness of mere being. Often the hands will solve a mystery that the intellect has struggled with in vain. Neurosis is always a substitute for legitimate suffering. Intuition does not denote something contrary to reason, but something outside of the province of reason. The wrong we have done, thought, or intended will wreak its vengeance on our souls. For better to come, good must stand aside. We have forgotten the age-old fact that God speaks chiefly through dreams and visions. Man cannot stand a meaningless life. Sentimentality is a superstructure covering brutality. Space flights are merely an escape, a fleeing away from oneself, because it is easier to go to Mars or to the moon than it is to penetrate one's own being. Psychological or spiritual development always requires a greater capacity for anxiety and ambiguity. Had I left those images hidden in the emotions, I might have been torn to pieces by them. One of the main functions of organized religion is to protect people against the direct experience of God. One who looks outside dreams. One who looks inside awakens. A particularly beautiful woman is a source of terror. As a rule, a beautiful woman is a terrible disappointment. The creative mind plays with the object it loves. The least of things with a meaning is worth more in life than the greatest of things without it. What we do not make conscious emerges later as fate. Nature has no use for the plea that one did not know. The kernel of all jealousy is lack of love. Every human life contains a potential. If that potential is not fulfilled, that life was wasted. Synchronicity is the coming together of inner and outer events in a way that cannot be explained by cause and effect, and that is meaningful to the observer. The sure path can only lead to death. Fanaticism is always a sign of repressed doubt. I am not what happens to me. I choose who I become. The time is a critical one, for it marks the beginning of the second half of life, when a metanoia, a mental transformation, not infrequently occurs. Were it not for the leaping and twinkling of the soul, man would rot away in his greatest passion, idleness. See you in the next videos.